Hello everyone, welcome to Art Is Podcast episode 2. Today I'm going to talk about the movie Mortal Engines. I saw in theaters. I know I'm late, but I just took a break. By the way, Happy New Year everyone. So my mother came to Bangkok. If you don't know, I live in Bangkok, Thailand. So she came to spend time with me for Christmas and New Year. So I didn't want to record a podcast in front of her. So I have written podcasts, and I think I will. So after I publish this, I will also put online the podcast I did for Aquaman. So the next movie I'll be talking about will be Aquaman. So today, Mortal Engines. Before I say anything, please know that I'm going to spoil this movie for you, and this sort of movie does require some encouragement, I have to say. So if you haven't watched the movie yet, I don't think it's in theaters anymore, but I think we should support this kind of movie because it is trying to do interesting things, and I think it's setting up for sequels. So that's it. So some general information about the movie first. The movie is directed by Christian Rivers. It seems to be his directorial debut. It seems that he has worked on Peter Jackson's other movies like King Kong, Lord of the Rings, and The Hobbit. Peter Jackson produced it and has co-written the film. The movie stars Era Hilmar, Robert Sheehan, and Hugo Weaving. Of course, I know Hugo Weaving, but I'm not familiar with the other kids who are in the movie. The movie is based on a novel by the same name, which apparently is part of a series of novels by Philip Reeve. I've not read the books and have not heard about this author. It's steampunk themed, of course, so it's cool. Here's the short synopsis: in a post-apocalyptic world where cities ride on wheels and consume each other to survive, two people meet in London and try to stop a conspiracy. So actually, I went to the movie without actually knowing anything about it. I think I saw maybe some images from the trailer, a beginning of the trailer. I haven't even seen the. Maybe I was just passing through some mall and I've seen on the big screen this movie called Mortal Engines. And actually, when I mentioned it to my friend Roma, he said actually that I could find it interesting. So when I had the chance, I just wanted to see it, and so you're going to hear about it. So first, some good points. The world building. I'm not going through the whole story, um, but basically, if I have to like sort of summarize this, the plot is that um, the movie starts with London, like it says in the synopsis. The cities are now on wheels, which is a really cool concept, I think. And London trying to consume a small village who is also on wheels, and so it starts with like a dramatic chase through some like, like a how you call this, through some this big landscape. As you can see, I've become rusty, so and once this village is captured, in this there is there's a female character, and she supposedly wanted to kill the general who actually leads the invasion operations for London. They're played by Hugo Weaving, and you just learn slowly that he actually killed her mother. And spoilers again, I'm not going to say spoilers anymore because I'm going to spoil the movie. It's she is his daughter, so um, and she basically tries to stop. She tries to kill him, but also she ends up having to work with this guy who was living in London and finds himself in the rebellion against London. And the point is, of London is trying to break through the wall, which symbolically represents Asia, which is basically China. And actually, in the second, like the last third act of the movie, we show that that part of the world is actually still rich with resources and is not polluted and is so it's basically the new world that London and let's say the Western world symbolically, again there are a lot of symbolism in this movie, tries to conquer, tries to colonize. So and at the end, like there's a nuclear weapon that the London tries to use, and they actually use it on the wall and they break the part of the wall, and then finally the rebellion team gets into the building. They have a fight and they stop the destruction of the wall, and the London actually stops like at the doors of Asia, China, and then the movie ends with the people of Asia, or people in China, supposed to represent China, let the people from London live among them, so they try to live together. And the two main characters decide to go on adventures basically. So they're setting up basically. I think it's probably based on the first book of the series, and I think they're setting up for sequel. So let's see. I've heard that I don't know the figures, but I've heard that it didn't make enough money to actually be encouraging for it to continue. I mean, of course, whenever this happens, everybody starts playing superhero movies, and I think you know what my thoughts are on superheroes. I love superhero movies. I just love good movies. I don't care if they're part of a genre or I just love movies that. Actually, I was kind of thinking about this, and I wrote a little piece about what makes a good movie for me, and so sort of shortly summarize, I think what makes a good movie for me is movies that make me want to watch more movies. I don't know if it really makes sense, but it's just like people. I like people who give me hope for humanity. Like I like meeting people who make me want to meet more people. Like it's so that's the let's say the story. Of course, like I said, if you can buy it digitally, buy it DVD, like try to support this movie. But I think it's an interesting movie, and I think you can see the work done. And talking about the work done, the good point, like I said, I was going to start to talk about the world building. Um, and I'm not sure whether I talked about this, but I find that the text in the beginning of science fiction movies has become one of the many movie tropes. In this case, there was a voiceover as soon as the movie starts. But as soon as the movie starts, you are engaged right away. You understood immediately what you were up for. I haven't read the book, like I said. This movie is based on. I saw images from the trailer. I haven't seen even the full trailer, but I understood the world immediately. Um, they did have to do some exposition in the beginning to conversations, but that's okay. This is one of those movies like Mad Max Fury Road where we can see every penny spent on the screen. By comparison to Fury Road stops there, that movie is on another level. The pacing of the movie is pretty much maintained for the first act, but it slows down towards the middle. But I think that tends to happen with all the movies because I think it's a screenplay requirement. I'm not sure. I haven't read the books, which actually screenwriters use to write movies. So, as I'm going deeper about the movie, I'll try not to make it too political, but it's actually not possible given the theme of the movie. It's clear from the start when they show the city of London on wheels trying to absorb a small town reminds in a symbolic way the horror of colonialism. I believe there is still a version of colonization from Western companies. you can think of franchises, and the one I am familiar with, for example, a manufacturing company. They go to Asia for cheaper labor, and once they realize that the cost of labor is increasing in the country they came to, they move to another country with cheaper labor and so on. Like, for example, if I have to give you a small example, for example, companies come to Thailand, and now that the salaries in Thailand are going up, they move to countries like Philippines or Vietnam because the labor is cheaper there, right, and so on. So I'm guessing the next thing will happen is the Vietnam salaries will go up, and I don't know where they will go, but anyway. um, I talk about Asia because there is a reference to East versus West, but we'll get that into that in a moment. So that the good point is that, like I said, you can see the production design. Everybody has done a good job of creating this world, and you understand immediately what's going on. On the negative side, without going into specific movie tropes, when the movie started and they show the character played by Hugo Weaving as the military leader who conquers a small village, and then when the people from the village are brought in, he defends the captain of the village. Actually, protects the captain from one of the guards who is physically abusing him. Not only does he defend them from an abusive guard, he tells them that they will be given jobs, shelter, and food. So when the movie started, I expected it to be like a live-action Miyazaki movie, right, with nuances like with the villain in Princess Mononoke. We watched a movie, by the way, and studied the villain. It's quite complex and interesting. I just wish they would have kept his character layered and complex until the end. But at the end of Act One, they turned him into the extreme, the usual bad guy who has an agenda, basically. Um, all the people we're supposed to root for are young, and most of them are not Caucasian, and the people they are fighting are old. It's really, you can clearly see that. The main character, Hester Shaw, played by Hera Hilmar, is trying to kill the character played by Hugo Weaving, like I said, who turns out to be her father. It clearly refers to the fight against the patriarchy behind the colonization. The old leader, who looks like the representative equivalent of the British royal family, is wearing a robe which reminds of royalty and the Pope mixed together in a. So of course the third act is the main character is trying to stop London from using a nuclear weapon to destroy the wall to the other side of the planet, which is a representation of Asia. I felt like watching two different movies. One which I think is trying to stay loyal to the source material with good nuances and plot and characters, but at the same time I felt like I was watching a very expensive teen drama where all the young people are pretty with cringe-worthy movie tropes. Some of them I don't think, are really experienced actors, so their performance was like cringy. Apart from the two main protagonists, there were some of the, like I said, like the extras. Their acting was over the top. It didn't feel natural. Also, a lot of I feel that they didn't have the charm to deliver powerful performance. As I mentioned earlier, production design, costume design, set pieces are stunning, and I think they capture the mood perfectly. I really love the world they built. There was some exposition, but it was not so direct. There were some characters which were not that useful, like Valentine's daughter. Like Valentine is the character played by Hugo Weaving. Her character is just too. I don't know. He's just there to basically for exposition. I can't really think of another reason she's there for. The side story with Shriek was useless, other than to make the protagonist's mission more difficult. But the story in itself was good. I just feel like they didn't give any agency to that within the bigger plot of the movie. When Shriek realizes that she's in love with, um, and he gives up and dies, I didn't understand that point. Like, I don't know why. Like, was he programmed like that? I don't know. Like I said, there are a lot of movie tropes. Anna Fang, who plays a rebel, like falling, like at the end after the fight with the character played by Hugo Weaving, Valentine, she falls from a sort of like a barrier. Like she falls from with her arms apart like Christ. Um, the movie is only 2 hours long, but it felt long. Some scenes could have been cut. I just think that um, there was I think the idea is really interesting, and I understand that like compressing the complexity and the plot to a short movie, to a movie, is actually more difficult. Maybe the book is really long and there are a lot of different stories and so on, but it's just it tries to critique, I think, the colonialism for me. I mean, that's the way I saw it, like the East versus West. Um, I think it clearly sides on the side of um, um, East and is actually against, I think, the ways of the West. But I mean, I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm just saying that I'm much more of a. I think I would have been more satisfied with a more complex reading of that relationship. Anyway, it was a really interesting movie to watch. Um, I At a certain point you kind of guessed where it was going, but I just found the first like I said, the first act was really great. Um, the second act was okay, and I felt like the third act was like rushed a little bit. But again, like I said, the length of the movie, I'm sure there are a lot of scenes were cut. And uh, there was a point where actually I didn't know where it was going, and I think that's a good point for me. The movie, at least, like, okay, what are they going to do now? But then suddenly, like, they realize that there's a rebellion, and it's in these dystopian future movies, like, there's always. I kind of wish they would change that because there's always this powerful structure that a small minority is trying to break. Okay, I understand that there are similarities in reality to that, um, but I just feel like we need, I don't know, we just need a new way of telling that kind of story or telling other stories with that. Um, or they could have just focused on the main characters and then maybe flushed out their adventure rather than just putting too many characters and but basically it was just cliche to say that young people are right and sort of old people are wrong and their ways are wrong. So and so I just feel like okay, what um, like for example, what are the people? Are all the people in London bad? Like the seems to like it would have been interesting to see some people in London. I mean, I think they did show. I don't know the name of that actor, but um, he sort of is against the invasion that London undertakes and so on. But I just wish that first of all they could have showed someone within London. Actually, just show that like this is the like instead of just showing clearly that these are the bad guys, these are the good guys. Just show a little bit of nuance, like that would be great. And I think they tried to do that at the end, but like I said, the third act was rushed. So, like I said, like the symbolic representation of China, the East, the leader actually they try to go to war. But um, like they try to, they manage to stop them in time, and of course everything works out. But I think the next point is actually maybe the next movie might be very interesting because, and I've always been fascinated and I've always been interested in this idea of mixing like the ideas of East and West, like especially when it comes to philosophy, the way to live. But basically, I'm interested in like the way which human beings should conduct themselves, um, and it's and I hope that they will be able to make tell that in the other movies. I don't know if I'll try to read the books, but and I hope they will be able to make the other movies because I don't know if they will. Or maybe because Netflix is what's up with Netflix? I think they are they are they are buying everything. I think they are giving first of all they are giving every stand-up comedian specials. They are putting out so much content that it's. I mean, I'm not complaining, but it's just so much content. Maybe the next movie they will be on Netflix instead of like being released on the theater. Um, Next one, I just want to see like how is that, um, how will that relationship work? And I think they can deal with the cultural differences, like especially for like expats living in Asia. Like, what does that feel like, or how does it feel for the local people? Like, I always think about this in Bangkok. Like, what do really the Thai people think of foreigners living in their country? I'm not asking them like whether they want them out or in, but I don't know what, in all honesty, what they think, and I don't know. I don't think they will be able to express that. But anyway, so um, this was a little bit like a really messy take on Mortal Engines, but I think this movie is trying to do something interesting. The movie looks great. Um, I wasn't. I felt that the music was quite normal. I mean, it was nothing like the music was nothing special. So I hope that more attempts with movies like this will be made, and I applaud, and I think Peter Jackson is behind this, and I think more directors should do this. Like they should encourage new directors, new scripts, new ideas to come to the big screen. It is a big risk, but you know, I think it's a risk worth taking. Especially actually when people are, let's say, not tired, but like they see so many superhero movies. Maybe something that is not a superhero movie, I think, has a lot of chance of working, especially when actually people maybe they're craving more than superhero movies. So it might work. So let's see if they do it. Let's see if they go on for sequels. So that was my, let's say, review analysis slash rant ramble about Mortal Engines. Let me know if you watched the movie and comment what you thought. Maybe I'm sure I've missed a lot of things. I haven't done research about this, and as you can see, when it comes to podcast, I'm rusty, and but it's good to be back, and it's good to be recording again. Um, I hope you had a really good year. I hope the year has begun wonderfully for you, and I'm just going to the next episode. I will talk about Aquaman, and it will be more structured. And I have a lot of things to say about Aquaman. Until then, this is Boris. This is the Arc Is podcast, and I'll see you next time.